In today's video, we're going to be looking at the FlashForge AD5X 3D printer. This is FlashForge's first attempt at making a multicolor printer to compete with companies like Bamboo, Creality, and Prusa. With a print volume of 220mm cubed, it's kind of on the low end for 3D printers, but for most prints, this will be just fine. If you want to compare it to other printers in the space, you have the Bamboo A1 Mini, the regular A1, and the P1S. In terms of its price point, it's most similar to the A1 Mini. When comparing it to the Mini, you're really getting a lot more for your money here. It is slightly smaller than an Ender 3 print's height if that's what you're used to, but as an entry point into Core XY multicolor printing, this seems like a really good deal so far. The printer was definitely well packaged, and you can tell that they took a lot of care to make sure it wouldn't get damaged in transit. Getting it out of the box can be a little bit tricky since there aren't any handles, but it is manageable. And once you've got it set up, the lack of handles isn't a big deal. You're probably not going to be moving it around much anyway. There is some assembly required, getting the screen on and mounting the IFS and the spool holders, but the manual is really easy to follow along, so you shouldn't have too much trouble with that. From out of box to calibration, it should take you a maximum of 25 minutes. The printer runs through its own calibration completely by itself. You just wait for it to do its thing and come back when it's done. It even gives you a nice time remaining countdown. The first thing you'll notice when taking it out of the packaging is that the printer is very well built. The frame is made of sheet metal and it feels really solid. It doesn't come with any fancy features like a camera or lights, but that's not that big of an issue, especially for this price point. You'll also see that the printer has no enclosure. If you want one, you can pick one up for an additional $40 from either FlashForge's website or from Amazon. For this price point, you get a decently sized Core XY with built-in multicolor capability. You don't need to pay anything extra for a multi-material system as you would with other printers. You have a colored touchscreen with a really intuitive UI. The screen itself isn't super responsive. Sometimes I had to click a button multiple times for it to register. The power plugs into the back and not the side of the printer. But the switch is also on the back. So depending on your setup, if you can't get your hand back there, you will have to turn the printer around to see the switch. On that note, you also get an Ethernet port back there too, which is nice that they include the port at all and they don't make you rely only on Wi-Fi. The spools are mounted on the side and not the back of the printer. If you come from another printer where the spools do mount onto the back, you know just how frustrating loading and unloading filament is that way. You can really tell that there was a lot of thought and care put into designing this printer. Nothing feels cheap or out of place. The wiring is neat, the frame feels sturdy, even the extruder assembly is well put together. That's enough about the printer. Let's see how it prints. The first thing that I printed was this model that popped up. But that first print didn't go well at all, and that brings me to my first issue with this printer. The IFS multi-material system. When it's snapped in place properly, some of my spools rub against the system and sometimes get stuck, leading to feeding issues and errors. Which is really weird because these are standard size spools. I have Polymaker, Overture, Inland, and many other spool brands, and they're all around the same size, so most of them had this issue. I had to unlock the IFS from place and twist it slightly so that the spools I was using wouldn't rub against it. I kind of wish that the holder for the IFS was a little bit taller from the factory so others could avoid this issue altogether. After this quick fix, I tried the print again and it came out really well. I should have used more vibrant colors for this print, but I just threw the first two colors I had closest to me. Then I printed a Flexi Skelly. For my next print, I went straight into making these multicolor Pokemon. I didn't do any smaller scale tests or prints. I just painted and sliced the models, hit print, and walked away. It would take about 27 hours to complete, so I just left it and checked in occasionally. I thought I'd walk in after 27 hours to the finished print, but this is where I ran into the second issue I had with this printer. Towards the end of the print, I had this communication error which prompted me to restart the printer. When I saw this, my heart sank. I didn't know if the printer would continue printing afterwards. It was so close to finishing, and it already wasted so much filament on the purges that I was really scared to actually restart it. Before I tried that, I did press the resume button on the screen, but to no avail. In the end, I did end up restarting it, and to my surprise, it asked me if I wanted to continue printing. I hit yes, and it picked up right where it left off. There is a visible line in one of the prints, which is really unfortunate, but at least the other one is okay. I had hoped this was a one-off error and moved on with my next prints. I wanted to print these multicolored gear bearings by Emmet. But a few hours in, I ran into the same issue as before. This time, I more confidently restarted the printer and let it resume. So it did, until I ran into the error again. Another 2 times.
It's the third time in one print.
At this point, I was getting really frustrated, so I just killed the print. The error was really vague, and I had no idea what was causing it. That's when it hit me. I should have probably updated the firmware. Using the Ethernet port in the back, I connected it to the network and updated the firmware through the touchscreen. It was really easy to do since it's all over-the-air updates. I didn't need to fiddle around with installing the update on a USB and then flashing it to the printer. This was just a few button presses and it was done. I tried the gear bearing print again and I didn't get the error anymore. In fact, through the rest of my testing, I didn't get that error at all. Updating it did seem to fix it. In the update log, there was a fix about common error codes or something like that, so clearly FlashForge was aware and they patched whatever was causing it. I then did this Ben 10 Hue Forge, these giant scaled up flexible lizards, 2 more flexi skellies, these knitted elephants, the top of Hot Girl's mace, a Spider-Man bust in matte PLA, another Pokemon in some silk filament, and a bunch more prints. Support material with the pre-built profiles is a bit difficult to remove, but with some tuning you can get it to work just fine. The stock Z offset value is at 0.16mm, but I bumped that up to 0.30 and found decent results. There's a lot of other settings you can adjust for clean breakaway support and your results will vary. You can also experiment with PETG interface layers, but it's not something that I messed around with in my testing. The printer was able to pump these parts out repeatedly and with consistent quality. If you take the Silk Nido King print that the AD5X did and compare it to my Prusa Mark IV, obviously the Mark IV is better, but it's nice that the AD5X looks this good, especially considering how it's a third of the price of the Mark IV. When I was printing these multicolored knitted elephants, 2 of them did pop off of the bed. When these elephants failed, it gave me a good chance to test out the skip objects feature. You just push the little button and you select the objects that you want to skip over. Without missing a beat, it skipped over those 2 elephants and was able to print the rest with no issues. The printer does come with a textured PEI plate, but if you have a smooth plate from something like a Creality K1 or a similar sized bed, that can go on here and it prints just fine. After those communication errors where the printer paused and then resumed right where it left off, I wanted to test out an abrupt power loss to see if the printer could handle it. So I started printing this Benchy and cut the power to it mid-print. I can safely say that the 85X picked up exactly where it left off. And it was looking really nice until the print popped off the bed. This could have been caused by two things. The first being a dirty and oily bed. As good practice, you should wipe down the bed every few prints. Another cause could have been that while the power was off, the bed cooled down just enough to release the part. Putting down some glue stick before the print in either of these cases would have probably prevented it altogether, but it's just something to keep in mind. Alright, let's talk waste. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of flushing and purging with a single nozzle system. For the stunky and skunk tank prints, I had a whole box worth of purged material. When doing a lot of these multicolor prints, you really realize how much it starts to stack up, and you might have more waste sometimes than you have an actual print. I hesitated to print a lot of multicolor prints just because of how much waste it produced. There are ways to mitigate it and even remove it altogether, but by default you're going to waste a lot of filament. Let's talk about the noise level. The printer isn't as loud as I thought it would be. I have some other printers that even when I'm on the other side of the house, I can still hear them from the garage. The 85X is considerably quieter. I'd say it's about half as loud as the K1. At this price point, you get a really sturdy and high quality Core XY with multicolor capabilities and really good print quality. I don't think you'd be disappointed with this printer at all. If you live near a micro center and you can pick one up from there, I would also recommend getting the 2-year warranty. If you get it at a good price, you'll still be below $500 with a warranty, and you get peace of mind for 2 years knowing that if anything goes wrong, Micro Center will replace it. So if you're looking for a good multicolor 3D printer, I can't recommend this one enough. I hope you found the video helpful and informative. If you have any questions about something that I left out in this video, please leave them below and I'll get to answering that as soon as I can. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.